after the final buzzer. This is where you come for instant post-game reaction.
Oh, hell yeah.
This is Dubs OT.
Can't wait.
With John Dickinson.
Hey, JD, what you up to, sugar? Long time no talk to.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live at KNBR.com and on the KNBR app.
Julius Randle out ahead of the pass. Steve Kerr calls the timeout, and the white flag is up. Warriors will surrender as the Wolves go up 21, and they're going to even up this best-of-7 series at 1 apiece.
Yeah, up 21 at that point. They would lead by as many as 25 and win this one 117-93, the final, as Minnesota bounces back. They dominate the Stephen Curry-less Warriors to even the Western Conference semifinals at a game apiece. We welcome you in. It is Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. 808 KNBR is the number, 415-808-5627 to jump in and join the conversation via the phone lines, via the Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line. And, of course, we have the best YouTube chat in sports. And folks filing in to the chat with a lot to discuss here as the Warriors get blown out in Game 2 of this series, kind of as expected, I think. When you factor in, of course, first and foremost, the Stephen Curry injury and the news relating to Curry that he's going to at least miss Game 3 and 4, probably Game 5, and maybe even more. We'll get into the comments from Steph at Warriors Shoot-Around inside Target Center earlier today, because it's not real optimistic, I think, if you're reading between the lines, as to the potential for what we were talking about really for the last 48 hours, which is the potential for Steph to be able to come back for Game 6 after that 3-day break. And so we'll see how everything shakes out as it relates to that. But I think some of that optimism may be curbed a little bit as the Warriors lose this one and you hear Steph Curry meet with reporters as he did earlier today. You knew the Timberwolves were going to bounce back, and you knew the Timberwolves were going to be just much more forceful, much more energetic, much more engaged. Knew they weren't going to miss their first 16 three-pointers. In fact, not only did they not miss their first 16 three-pointers, they hit their first 2. They jumped out to a 8-0 lead immediately. The Warriors ended up down 13-0 before they got their first bucket. It was a Jimmy Butler three-pointer 4 minutes and 57 seconds into the game. So what's going to be the biggest issue for the Dubs as it relates to playing without Stephen Curry? It's not defense. And I thought for a good chunk of the game tonight, the Warriors defense was actually probably good enough if they had any semblance of offense, but generating offense is so difficult for this team, even since Jimmy Butler has come over, when Steph Curry is not on the floor. And the Warriors have a young player who emerged tonight that has been missing in action for the better part of the last 2 months. But they also, I think, in the other direction, have a couple of young players that they've really been relying on here during this playoff run to get into the play-in and the 7 seed and beat the Rockets, and a couple of guys that are going in the wrong direction now. So 808 KNBR, as you look at this one, jump in and join the conversation as the Warriors lose this 117-93. We got a bunch of people that want to jump in on the phones already. We'll get to the calls here in just a second. But, yeah, not enough offense. The play of Brandon Podziemski and Moses Moody continues to be concerning, and we'll get into more depth and kind of run through the night as a whole. But they didn't get the Buddy Hield game that they got in Game 1 or in Game 7 in Houston. And they're just not getting enough offensively from Brandon Podziemski. He's got to make shots. He's got to be more decisive. I know Podziemski's plus-minus was not – it was sort of the good Podziemski plus-minus game. They need him to score. When Steph's out, the rules change, and they need him to score. So Podziemski, I think, in terms of that, playing 33 minutes, they need more from him. Moses Moody's working himself into unplayable territory. Moses Moody working himself into like where Jonathan Kuminga has spent the better part of the last 3 weeks. His shot looks as bad as it's ever looked. He's not just missing threes. He's missing threes badly. Santos couldn't give him much tonight. Pat Spencer, there was a lot of talk about him playing an increased role with Curry out. And Pat Spencer, somebody that's been ready a couple of times when Steve's called upon him. Tonight, nothing really from Pat Spencer. Nothing really from the Warriors bench other than Jonathan Kuminga and Trace Jackson Davis. And so Kuminga emerges in this one, 18 points, TJD 15 points. And just to kind of set the table here, if tonight goes down as nothing more than a feeling out game, and I think one way to look at this is, hey, you knew the Wolves were going to bounce back. They were going to get better Anthony Edwards games. They were going to get better three-point shooting. They were going to be more aggressive defensively. They were going to be more physical. They were going to get on the boards. All of the things that they struggled with in game one, you knew were going to be there. But if this goes down as a feeling out kind of a game for the Warriors, as they have to try to see how they have to play here moving forward without Steph Curry, then Jonathan Kuminga and TJD were the two bright spots in this one, as they're trying to find some searching and players that get penciled in for game 3 and game 4 coming up over the weekend back in San Francisco. It's just a different world with Curry out, and it also shouldn't be surprising that Kuminga played, at least scored as well as he has in the last 2 months on a night where Curry's out, and so is the usual Warriors system. It's more shots, it's more minutes that he's just going to get out of desperation, and these are traditionally the games where he scores well, and they need his scoring. So pencil in Kuminga as a part of the rotation here moving forward, back from the dead in terms of Steve Kerr tapping him and going to him. But as I said, it's a different world with Steph Curry out, and I think that in part makes Kuminga more playable, even if the fit's been a little clunky when he's been on the court with Jimmy Butler. Doesn't matter. Forget about it. You got to try to make it work because the Warriors are so void of offense in so many other ways. So that being said, TJD, nice game for him. I think they like the idea of the vertical spacing, to have somebody that Jimmy Butler can be able to lob the ball to at the rim, and he was 6 for 6 tonight, 15 points in this game, basically all on dunks, and had 6 boards. So I think TJD, as we move forward, is probably going to be in the lineup for the Warriors. And in this new look rotation, suddenly back to the drawing board. You think about it, Warriors get through game 1 against Houston, and then they lose Jimmy Butler in game 2, and they have to completely change their entire rotation mid-series, then figure out as Jimmy Butler comes back who the playables still are. And now they're back in a similar boat here early on in this series, losing Steph Curry in game 1, and guys that hadn't been playing at all, and I don't think would be playing at all. Kuminga and TJD wouldn't be playing at all if Curry was healthy and the rotation was as Steve Kerr had penciled it out just 2 days ago, coming into this series. But now that's a situation where those guys are going to have to play. All right, let's get to the phones. 808 KNBR, D in San Jose, our tip-off caller tonight here on Dubs OT on the Sports Leader. Hey, D.
Hey, JD, how you doing, man?
Good. What's on your mind tonight?
Okay, this was on my mind. So I got a long history of playing college basketball, D1 college. I used to play with Eddie House, Hayward High. Let me tell you something. I'm watching film. I know everything that's going on right now. Okay, Steve Kerr, he's lost. He's lost the lineup. He doesn't know what he wants to do. Listen to me. I need you to hear me out. He's lost the lineup. He doesn't know what he wants to do. And the thing about it is, Rod, he don't know what to do is because he started post and he's out within 3 minutes, okay? Then you try to go deep into your lineup because you couldn't find out who you could put in there. Just because Steph Curry's out the game, you know what I mean, don't mean you go deep into your lineup. You just need that one person who can score buckets, score half of Steph Curry points. Now he found his lineup. He found the lineup that he needed, which was Jimmy Butler, Buddy Hield, Jonathan Kuminga, Trace Jackson Davis, and Pods at the time. Brought them down to 7 points. They were down. They were up 20. He brought it down to 7 points. The moment he went back to the bench and brought in Spencer and put Buddy Hield to sit out, they went back up. Where Steve Kerr was wrong at, Steve Kerr, that's when they brought them down to 7 points, Steve Kerr should have gave that 5, called a timeout, give them a breather, keep running with that 5 for right now until we get to the third quarter so they can sit back and refresh again. Because that was the 5 that was running. Once he went back to Spencer and he went back to because he lost Looney too. Looney only had 3 minutes. Like, he didn't know who he wanted to put in there. He went to Santos, Gary Payton. Like, these guys are not scoring. So just because you got people on the bench don't mean you got to play them against that team, because you only can have certain individuals that can run with certain teams. You get what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, Steve Kerr lost it. He don't know his 5 that he wants. Like I said, my last thing I want to say to JD is your starting 5 for Game 3 is Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, Buddy Hield, Jonathan Kuminga, and Trey Jackson Davis. Leave Pods out because Pods right now can't find his rhythm. He needs to come off the bench.
No, you got to start Pods because you need the ball handling. I'm with you on JK. I think JK is going to be in the starting lineup. I'm with you on a lot of what you had to say. I think going back to the bench in the situation he did was just trying to get those guys a rest, honestly. And I hear you. You could take a timeout. You could keep riding it out. But I think what he felt in that moment, and I'm with you on the Quentin Post thing too. I thought that was I would have started GP2. That's how you started the second half of the game a couple of nights ago after Steph went down. I would have rolled with that again. He went to Post. He quickly went away from that. Kuminga definitely has inserted himself into the conversation. I'm with you on the starters. I would go Pods, Hield, Butler, Kuminga, TJD in Game 3 at Chase Center on Saturday and start from that. You need Pods ball handling to be out there without Steph Curry. So TJD can come off the bench, and TJD can play as much or more as compared to what he did tonight. But you're onto something with Kuminga. I don't disagree with the fact that, that was the best group tonight. They got him back within 7. And again, you still have to have some semblance of a normal rotation to get guys a little bit of rest to where you can bring them back. And I think that was what Kerr was thinking, was get him a little rest, and then that's going to be my finishing lineup. And then the game got away from him right there. After it got down to 7, DiVincenzo hit a 3, Kuminga hit a 3. There was the Podziemski turnover into a layup, which led to the timeout and some subs. But yeah, I think the big things you got to take away, D, are who are your playables moving forward. And I think you're on point with Kuminga being a part of that, D.
The thing about it is with Pods, right? As I'm looking at film right now, Pods is a lack of defense. He's not aggressive enough. If you look at it, his rhythm is just totally off.
I don't disagree, but he has to play. Like, he has to play because
I'm not saying
guards.
I'm not saying he's not going to play. He doesn't need to start. You get what I'm saying?
Well, he has to start. Well, you don't have another ball handling guard. You can't. Kuminga's not a good enough handle of the ball. You're going to put the ball in Draymond's hands a lot. You can't. Buddy doesn't have a handle. You need somebody else that can move the ball, that can handle the ball, that can keep the flow of the offense going there. So I disagree with that, but I think we're on the same page as far as the guys that need to be playing and will be playing here moving forward. Good call, D, to get us rolling. Appreciate your thoughts. We'll talk again soon, man. All right, from D, we go to Eric in San Francisco at 808 KNBR here on Dubs OT with JD. What's going on, Eric?
Hey, JD. I'm actually kind of encouraged by tonight's game, and hear me out on this. I know the final score is a little ugly, but okay, if you really think about it, they went down 13-0. They could have gotten rolled like they got rolled in Game 5 in Houston. They fought really hard. And if you really think, like you said, it's a feel-out game on who's playable, who's not, we kind of got some answers tonight. And, so in line with that previous caller, and I agree with you, it's got to be Pods, Hield, Butler, Kuminga, and Green. And Kuminga's got to be in there because, Kuminga always plays better when he starts, and he knows that he's got a little bit of a leash. And he's not afraid to take a shot, and he can get to the rim. So, the way I look at it is Butler's got to take more than 13 shots. We've got to cut the turnovers down from 17 down to 12 max. And Moody's out of the rotation. He's lost his confidence. He's just not missing. Like that in the first or second quarter.
It's air balls. It's a foot short. It's a foot long. It's off. He's missing every which way, and it's ugly misses.
On that 2-for-1 where he had that push shot that he just straight up airballed, like he's lost. So he's out of the rotation, or he's break the glass in case of emergency. But I think Pods is going to play better at home because, role players generally play better at home. So you hope you get the game 3, I think it was, where he had 26 in the Houston series. You hope you get a good Pods game. Butler's a little more aggressive. You let Kuminga do his thing because obviously you're not going to run the same offense that you're running when Curry's in there.
Yep, Curry being out allows Kuminga the freedom to play more to his style. And he showed tonight he can be successful, and they need scoring. So he has to play, and he proved that he can in the game tonight.
And I think you throw Kuminga on Edwards, which frees up Draymond to basically be on Randall, and then Butler maybe is on Gobert or kind of acting as a rover. But there's some. I thought basically when they got it down to 7. Okay, we made some mistakes with substitutions. We had some loose balls. Then the game got away from us. But the fact that they were down 13-0 and then they were down 22 and they got it all the way back down to 7 in a game that, Buddy wasn't really rolling, although his 3 ball's still looking good, 4 for 9. That's not terrible. So, you hope that you get and the other thing is we need a game 7 Draymond, not a game 6 Draymond, and we got a game 6 Draymond. He lost his composure when he got that technical, and he should have been thrown out of the game.
And he's on the bike in the tunnel, and he's back and forth with the fans. The whole fourth quarter, he's on the bike in the tunnel, and fans are giving it to him. One fan got ejected in the fourth quarter for saying something to him. Wow. But yeah, he was on one tonight. He was riding the Gary Payton bike the whole fourth quarter, and just egging the fans on, and they were letting him have it, and he was letting them have it, and it was a sight. To be honest.
Yeah. Okay.
So he was in one of those moods tonight. There's no doubt, Eric.
Exactly. So if we can get a composed Green and we can get a more aggressive Butler and Kuminga can do his thing, because as a starter in his career, when he has started, he has averaged 20 points a game. And we need scoring because we had 5 points in the first 8 minutes. And he will at least score the ball, or at least he'll be willing to take the shot. And that's the thing that's I've seen in this postseason is there's a lot of hesitancy. Pods is sometimes indecisive. He doesn't really want to take the shot. A lot of players don't want to take the shot. Kuminga's at least willing to take the shot, and I'm willing to roll the dice. And I think I've seen enough that they should be able to split at home. And if they play really well, they take both at home. But I'm just hoping for a split. You get to game 5. Maybe Curry's back. Probably not. But you at least
sure doesn't sound like it. Sure doesn't sound like it based on the comments today. It seems like it's game 6 at the earliest, and even that feels more in doubt today than it did yesterday or even on Monday or Tuesday rather.
So but even if I've seen enough, I saw enough tonight to be okay, we're not completely drawing dead. When they started out down 13-0, I was this is going to be game 5 Houston or game 5 Memphis. They're going to get rolled by 35 points. They fought. There was just sloppy ball handling, which broke down our defense. If we don't turn the ball over, I think the defense is going to hold, especially if Draymond keeps his composure. We try and make it an ugly game. Try and keep them, say, under 100, preferably under 95, and shoot for 100 points. And that's the formula for winning. 100 points, keep them under 95, and you roll with a starting lineup of Pods, Hield, Butler, Kuminga, Draymond. You make TJD your backup big because he showed that he's willing to bang in there. He's going to have energy. Like, I know it's dusting him off late in the season, and I'd kind of written him off out of the rotation, but I mean, he looked pretty good tonight.
You know, he was. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it, Eric. Let's get to Romani in San Jose next year. Romani?
Hi. Thank you for taking my call. I should say right off the bat that I did not watch the whole game, but I was calling in because I got irritated by the first caller, and I'm very impressed with the second caller. What a contrast. You know, the second gentleman was right on point, very rational, very sensible. The first guy was like all over the place, dumping all over Steve Kerr. You know, Steve Kerr is a champion. He's won so many championships. This is a 7-game series. So like you said, this is a feel-out game. We figure out what's going on. And, you know, I don't know what that other person's qualifications are to make such really horrible comments about them. And you were too nice to him, you know. I know you're a gentleman, but I mean, sometimes people have to be put in their place.
I can get mean, Romani. I'm trying to let people speak their piece, and we can agree to disagree at the end. And I definitely did, but yeah, no, go ahead. Look, you can continue.
No, I wonder if you agree with it. Did you get irritated at all, even though you didn't show it about the way the guy was going on? You know?
Yeah, I mean, look, Steve Kerr didn't lose him this game. All right. The fact that the Timberwolves were going to play much better than they did in game one was a given, and you don't have Steph Curry. And even if the Warriors do prove themselves to be good enough to hang in and win this series, it was not going to be just immediate, oh, now we're going to do this and now you're going to do that, and it's all just going to work. Like, and if they wind up finding enough to make it work, it's going to be because there's a lot of trial and error. And I thought tonight Steve really treated this game with the 1-0 lead like a complete feel-out game. I'm going to try Quentin Post early. I'm going to get Kuminga in there. I'm going to play Pat Spencer because he's played pretty well. I'm going to get TJD in the game to see if he can make an impact. I think, as we talked about earlier, he likes the vertical spacing and the lob threat for TJD, for Jimmy to have that option to throw to TJD. So I think he really wanted to see everybody tonight and a bunch of different combinations in addition to the guys who have been playing. And then you make the determination from there who your keepers are going to be basically when you get back to San Francisco on Saturday. And I think you found two, and it's Kuminga one and it's TJD the other. And then you try to tweak it around that with Jimmy Butler and Buddy Hield and the defense that the Warriors have played since Jimmy Butler has come over. The Warriors think they have enough defense to win this series, and I thought for a good portion of the game tonight, the Warriors had a good enough defense to win this game. Had they been able to not turn it over as much, had they been able to hit a couple of shots here and there that didn't fall. So I'm with you. There are some things to take away that can be applied, but nobody should be thinking that this is going to be easy or even that the Warriors are remotely a favorite without Stephen Curry potentially for the entire remainder of the series. I mean, get real.
Going into the series, we knew that the split is a good thing. We're happy with the split. And even with Steph Curry, it's quite likely it would have been closer maybe, but quite likely in a home court, just like it happened to Houston, Some people come up alive and it would have been a 1-1 split is not a bad thing. And it gave us an opportunity, like you said, to feel for all the players and figure out what's going on, so.
Good call. Romani, thank you for the call. Appreciate it. Don't make it your last. Thanks for chiming in.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Appreciate it. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Timberwolves win it 117-93. So the series is tied at a game apiece. The T-Wolves bounce back, dominate the Warriors in Minnesota, and the series will shift to San Francisco. Game 3 Saturday night. We'll be back at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. Looking forward to that. And on Monday night, 5:30 tip-off on Saturday, 7 p.m. tip-off for the Warriors back home on Monday night. We'll be at Harmonic in Thrive City after both of those games with Dubs OT here on the Sports Leader. All right, let's get to some Kyle's clicks here. Kyle Haar back in our San Francisco studios as we dive into the YouTube chat. What are your biggest takeaways that can be applied moving forward for the Warriors in this series? JD said the other day Moody's confidence has been blown the last few weeks. That airball push shot said it all. Karen, thank you for chiming in. in the chat. Yeah, his shot is lost, and he's trying to get it back, but you can almost see him making the adjustments with each shot. If he leaves one short, the next one he puts more in, then he airballs it. He airballs it long. Like he just can't make the adjustment. And that was in play, I thought, game one. It was in play tonight. He is shaken confidence-wise, and I think he's also trying to not be shaken confidence-wise, and it's not helping the end result work out any better. Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line 831 says, actually 209, start Kuminga at home. Maybe Moses Moody gets some minutes at home. I think if he's going to get an opportunity Saturday, it really truly might have to be his last opportunity here for a while in terms of being in the rotation. Although, as we've seen again with Kuminga, you can be out of the rotation and out of the rotation and out of the rotation. And if others are not playing well, because it's not like Steve Kerr has an easy, slate of players to where he knows these guys are always going to be there for him. A lot of the youth, a lot of the inconsistency has led Steve to basically take a bunch of people out of the rotation and switch it up. And so Kuminga clearly, finally, has earned his way back in with the Steph Curry injury. And Moses Moody, I think, in part playing so poorly. So he's going to get more run. How little – I still think they need Moody and are a better team when Moody's playing, but they're not a better team when Moody's playing and he's 0 for 4 from 3 and 0 for 5 and he can't hit a shot. And he's coming up a foot short on one and then he's coming up 2 feet long on the next one. Like that just – and his defense was atrocious in game one as well. I mean, he was not defending, and I think Steve may be evaluating it as – if he's not going to be good on each end, maybe I have to really, really look to potentially go away from him. But yeah, the confidence in the shot is in bad shape. Mr. Bay Area will know after next game if the Warriors have a chance or the season is over. If they can't win at home without Curry, it'll be over. Saturday will tell us a lot. I mean, look, the goal remains the same, I think, for the Warriors as it was 2 nights ago. And it's just find a way to get one of the next, we said 3 with tonight's game included. Well, that game's gone. It's can you win one of the 2 at home? Can you win one of the 2 at home to make sure you get to a 6th game at home? And the dream scenario would be Steph Curry is able to come back at that point and play. But again, we'll get to this in Sounds of Dubs OT. The Stephen Curry comments from Warriors shoot-around this morning lead me to be less optimistic about the prospect of Steph Curry playing back in Chase Center on Sunday the 18th in a game 6. It sounded very much as if Steph was a week away from being told how far he really truly is away. And that obviously being a week from yesterday. And, game 5 technically not off the table at this point, but it sounds like Steph's not doing anything basketball activity-wise for at least the next week. And then on that day, he will be told what he's allowed to do. So the ramp-up truly begins at the earliest next Wednesday, which is the night of game 5. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday are the off days in the lead up to game 6. So he'd have a ramp-up there, assuming there's no setback. So, again, I wouldn't rule out game 6 completely, but I find it hard to believe he's playing in game 5. And again, it seems like he was much more concerned about, well, hey, the guys are going to have to get the job done and then maybe I can come back. It sounded almost like they're going to have to win this series and then see if he can come back. That was the read of the tea leaves. We'll play some of that sound coming up on our Sounds at Dubs OT segment. But I don't think, Mr. Bay Area, it's about game 3 specifically. It's about game 3 and game 4. Can you win one? That extends the series. You're coming back to Minnesota no matter what to play game 5. And then at that point, you'd know that you'd at least be going home for a game 6, and you take your chances as things go on. Our buddy Gene McIntyre, Warriors actually won the rebound game. Too many turnovers due to unfamiliar lineups, 1-1. Let's see the adjustments. And yeah, they held their own. On the boards. Again, they won by a smaller margin than they did in the game on Tuesday night in game 1. But yeah, 20 turnovers, 22 points off turnovers. The Timberwolves a plus 10 right there. The Timberwolves hit 7 more threes than the Warriors did, which is an obvious instant problem without Stephen Curry. 9 of 32 isn't going to cut it. I mean, that's a 21-point difference right there in favor of Minnesota. Minnesota also won the points in the paint battle. I mean, the Warriors just can't score enough without Steph. They don't have enough guys, even with the addition of Kuminga tonight, to shoot it. And the only guy who hit threes tonight was Buddy. Jimmy hit a couple. Draymond hit one, but he was 1 for 6. Aggressive in taking it, but obviously not hitting it nearly enough here. San Jose Jazz fan 4. We saw Brandon Pajemski, Moses Potsbricki, Moses Bricky, Brickmon Green, Gary Brickton II without Steph. That's enough to lose. No question. San Jose Jazz fan 4. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. We push on here in the 8 o'clock hour on Dubs OT with JD. We appreciate everybody watching on YouTube and Twitch as the Warriors lose 117-93. Series tied at a game apiece. Let's get a couple of more chats. We'll get back to the phones, Kyle. Andis Brown, as a Dre defender, I'm getting tired of the over-exaggerating when he gets fouled. He's going to get the call. Don't need the extra crap. Now he's 2 techs from a suspension. Yeah, technical number 5 for Draymond Green in the postseason tonight, and he's got the 2 flagrant points. So, yeah, you get to 7, it's a suspension. So he is now 2 technical fouls at any point as far as the Warriors go, which could be 3 more games or many beyond that. 2 more techs to play with, or 1 more to play with. The second one from now, he is suspended for the following game. So he's got to get a grip here for the remainder of this series. If he ended up with a suspension maybe early in another series, if the Warriors were somehow fortunate enough to get to that point, which is not something that should be on anybody's mind at this point, then maybe you can miss a game 2 of a future series. But Draymond can't be missing any games in this series, and he's right there now on the brink. And, oh, by the way, the flagrant foul point thing. Updating the flagrant foul point. No flagrants tonight, but he's got 2 flagrant foul points. You get to 4, which means if you get a flagrant 2, so if he winds up on somebody and does something blatantly dirty that could go down as a flagrant 2, not only would he be ejected from that game, but he'd be suspended for the next game because it would kick him up to 4 points. 2 flagrant 1s, 2 more, and he already has the 2 in the playoffs at this point. 2 more flagrant 1s. And he has to miss a game due to suspension on the flagrant. So he's got to get a grip and get control, and he had it for the last couple of games. Tonight he was extremely frustrated. Just extremely frustrated, and he was fuming at Tony Brothers tonight when he hit Naz Reid on the follow through, and then they looked at it and ended up being a technical foul. I don't know if Tony Brothers said something to Draymond, but Draymond was incensed at the tech call. And it looked like he was going to get run right there. Looked like he was going to get run right then and there. And I think there were some restraint showed by the officials to not eject him. But he's got to get a grip. He's got to get back to where he was Game 7, Game 1, and not back, as the earlier caller said, to where he was in Game 6 of the Rocket series. A couple more here in the YouTube chat. Robert Grigori, I'm a great Dubs fan, but the Wolves just cannot lose versus Stephless team. You can talk strategy, rotation, effort, energy, coaching, but it's as simple as that. No question. You got to be honest about it. Many believed the Wolves were the better team coming into this series, even if Steph Curry was playing. Given the way that they played against the Lakers, they were the higher seed. I think, 1 game difference. They ended up the 6. The Warriors ended up the 7. I think the one thing the Wolves have shown, though, in the first 2 games of this series, they have not been as nearly as impressive as they were in the series against the Lakers. And the Warriors, for all their faults, for all their flaws, the Warriors match up better against them than certainly the Lakers do. And the Warriors are very confident, I think, in playing against them. But all that said, the Wolves were the favorite, I think, coming in. and then you take Steph Curry away. The Wolves, I mean, you could make a case the Wolves should win this series in 5. I mean, if not 7, if you're telling me Steph's not going to be playing at all. So we move forward on that. And I think you're right. You do talk strategy. That's why we're here, to talk strategy, to talk storylines, to talk about how you can potentially survive it until you get to a point where Steph maybe can come back. But the reality is they may not have Steph for the entire series, and the Timberwolves are the better team, and the Warriors can fight and scratch and claw and do whatever they want to hang in. But they may not. It may not be enough. I mean, that's a reality that I think everybody in the Bay has to come to grips with, just with the fact that Steph, pulled up as he did on Tuesday. All right, back to the phone. Steve in San Francisco next here on Dubs OT. Hey, Steve.
Hey, JD, I mean, we're not doctors. We get it, Steph's thing. But, under the auspice of Steph Curry, Coach Kerr played him all the minutes to get to this hamstring injury. Under that auspice of we do whatever to win, you would think that they would bring Steph back at any moment, even if he was 50%, because there's a real chance they could win this and be in the conference finals. And who knows if they'll ever be in the conference finals again. I mean, what do you think about this idea of bringing Steph back at 20%? Because he gives them the best chance to win, even if it's at the detriment of his long-term health.
Steve, I hear you, but you can't do that with a hamstring. If this was an ankle or a knee sprain or something like that, I mean, he could come back, pull the hamstring, and then it's over. Then at that point, it's over. So they're going to be careful with it. I think here moving forward. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and they did go all in, and there is a cumulative effect to it in the minutes that he played in the Rocket series. But you know what? That's the cost of doing business. But he was not hurt in the time that they were playing him all those minutes. Did it lead to him getting hurt? I mean, we can debate that. I'm not going to say I know the answer to that question. I know a lot of people think it potentially did, but so what? If you don't play him those minutes, you're home now anyway. And the Timberwolves would have been playing in Houston tonight in game 2 if Steph had not played those minutes. So you roll the dice with your best players. But you also, because of the age, you run the risk of injury popping up. That's completely different from putting an injured player out there too soon with that kind of an injury and saying that you're going to do it in desperation. I do not think you do that, not with a hamstring. Again, maybe with a knee or an ankle or something that's just a pain tolerance type of a thing. If it's a pain tolerance, can't do further damage type of an injury, then maybe you push through and you try to get out there. But you're not doing that with a muscle injury that even when it feels as if it's healed, can just completely pull at that point or even tear at that point. And then you're looking at a significant deal. So, no, I don't think you do that at all, Steve.
One more for you before, when Steve Kerr's going to bed tonight and thinking about the lineup and what he could change up. I mean, what's the thoughts before his, we've mentioned Moody struggles in GP2. Like, what do you think the puzzle looks like for them to get this right, to be able to get one more?
I think it's game to game, Steve. But I think for now, it's putting Kuminga in the starting lineup, which is kind of mind-boggling to say, considering how bad he was even in the first quarter tonight. He had an awful first quarter shift tonight. As bad as he has been in the playoffs, this was right up there. And then he hit 5 straight shots coming back in his second shift and actually ended up playing really well and ended up being the Warriors' leading scorer in this game. So I think with Steph out, everything changes and you're not running the normal system. And so you're putting Kuminga in the position to where he has a little bit more room to operate in the manner that he prefers to operate, which is more just put your head down and try to drive. I do think he had a couple of nice cuts. Most of his points were in the paint, but when he hits those in the paint and he's getting the dunks and the layups and he's getting fouled, then he's more confident with the 3-point shot when he gets it kicked to him and he'll knock down one or two. So Kuminga, I think, with Steph out, is somebody just because they're so void of players that can score and get their own shot. I think that's where you go there in terms of the starting lineup. I think GP2's got to play. I think Pajemski's got to still play and start. I think you're going to get more. You're going to see more from Trace Jackson Davis. I think you're going to see maybe less from Post. And Moody's kind of the wild card. Do Do you give him one more shot at home? Again, I just don't think the Warriors have a lot of other. Guy Santos was terrible. Kevin Knox didn't give him anything. Again, how can you expect much from either of those two guys? But I think if you're not having anyone like Kuminga step in from the abyss to earn a spot, then you almost have to stick with the guys that have played the best over the longest stretch. And I think that may mean sticking with somebody like Moody, even coming off the bench one more time. It may mean going back to Looney a little bit. He played well in game one, but I think he's somebody that you like to have out there more when Steph's out there. So with Steph gone, I think you went away from him tonight. I think that was intentional. I think GP, like I said, has got to play for defense. So I mean, again, there aren't a lot of options, but I think it does start with Kuminga, Steve.
Okay, JD, I know. Listen, here's my last thing. Just a question.
Yep.
I know you're a big journalist and you can't root for teams, but are you rooting for Kuminga to play well? It's been a saga for Warriors fans. Are you, when he plays well, are you like, yes? Or are you like, well, what's your gut on that?
I don't root. I don't root either way. But again, if he plays well, he gets praised. If he doesn't play well, you analyze it and you critique it. And I've done that when he doesn't play well. Tonight he played well. And based on where this team is at right now, they need him to play. I mean, it's simple. I was not in that category where others were in other games of the Houston series when he wasn't playing well. And if you're not playing well, you don't keep saying a guy should be playing, but when he actually does play well and make an impact and you need scoring and Steph's out, then give him a shot. To me, tonight was the first time I think Kuminga legitimately earned another shot going into the next game since he'd been taken out of the rotation. But no, I'm not rooting for anything. I'm looking at what happens. I'm giving you my opinion as to what I think should happen or could happen. And then we talk about it. If I'm wrong, I admit I'm wrong. If the information changes, we continue to discuss it. But no, not rooting, Steve.
I get that. But my point is when Kuminga comes in, obviously he's played bad, but you see that spark of man,
he had it tonight. He did.
It's there.
He had it tonight. He had it tonight, and they need it. I mean, it really is as simple as that. I don't think, Steve, we'll end it on this note. I don't think tonight changes anything in the big picture of his future with the Warriors. I think he's gone. I think he should be gone. I still think he doesn't fit when they have the team with Steph and as a whole. I think that's been really proven the last 2 months, but these are new circumstances. So right now, game 3 without Steph, he needs to play. It doesn't mean they need to sign him. It doesn't mean he's a $120 million player in June. I still think they're better off moving him if they can, sign and trade, get somebody that can be a rotation player that fits better with the Curry, Jimmy Butler group. But that's not a conversation to be had tonight, Steve.
Hey, I appreciate it, JD. Thank you.
Yep, you got it, Steve. All right, 808 KNBR. Let's take a timeout. 415-808-5627. Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line. More from the phone lines. More Kyle's Clicks coming up. We got sounds at Dubs OT and fun with numbers. Warriors lose 117-93. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Live from downtown.
Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang!
This is Dubs OT with John Dickinson on the Sports Leader. Streaming live at KNBR.com and on the KNBR app.
And a turnover. Pajemski up ahead. Finds Buddy Hield in the corner. Cash! And here come the Warriors. Wow, what a flurry for Golden State. A brilliant start to this third quarter, and it's a 7-point game.
Yeah, the Warriors did end up, though, losing the third quarter, 29-26, after they got off to a great start. They were down 17 at the half, and they cut it down to 7. I think it was 16-6 to begin the quarter for the Dubs, but it was all Timberwolves, really, from that point on, as they went at 117-93. And even the series at a game apiece. We welcome you back here. It's Dubs OT with JD here on the Sports Leader. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627 as the Warriors and Wolves back in action on Saturday night at Chase Center. Of course, we'll be at Harmonic Brewing in Thrive City. After that one, Greg Silver stopping by for that show, and we'll be on Saturday night. We'll be on Monday night. As always, following Games 3 and Game 4. And then it's back to Minnesota for the Dubs in Game 5, which now officially is necessary. That game a week from last night, as the games, again, will continue to come every other day, Saturday, Monday, Wednesday back at Target Center in Minneapolis, and then the 3-day break for the Golden State Valkyries to make their WNBA debut with their inaugural game, which is going to be coming up at Chase Center a week from tomorrow. Going to be exciting times. That kicked the Warriors to Sunday for Game 6, but the order of the next couple of games, really the two at home this weekend, season on the line for the Dubs. Can they win one of those two to make that game on Sunday the 18th officially official and necessary, and give Steph Curry a potential opportunity to return? 808 KNBR, what are your biggest takeaways from this one that translate to the next two games? Because Steve Kerr clearly was trying to find combinations that could work here in the new world with the Warriors playing without Stephen Curry. And so we'll see. Jonathan Kuminga obviously emerging there among the others, including Trace Jackson Davis. But as those two emerge, you have Brandon Pajemski struggle, Moses Moody play really poorly, and then you don't get quite the same Buddy Hield game. You match that up with the forceful nature of the Timberwolves coming off of a loss in Game 1, and it all adds up to a blowout loss and back to the drawing board. But I think Steve Kerr, believe it or not, has more options at his disposal for Game 3 and Game 4 than he had coming into Game 2 tonight. And I think there were some things that worked for the Warriors, having built the lead, or at least starting to build the lead on Tuesday before Steph Curry went out with the injury. And I think you try and lean on those things with the 1-0 lead as much as you can, while also knowing you have the split guaranteed at a minimum coming into tonight. It does allow you to tinker and use it as a feeling out game. And I think that's what Steve was trying to do as much as anything. So now that you have the feel it out game, how do you take advantage of it and come up with some semblance of a rotation that can extend your season by winning one of the next two back at Chase Center to at least get it 2-2 back to Minnesota on Wednesday. 808 KNBR, let's continue back on the phones. We'll get to more in the YouTube chat. Best YouTube chat in sports. The Dubs OT devotees, and Manny, though, in the 209 is going to come up next year on the phone lines talking about Game 3 and what the Warriors should do. What's up, Manny?
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for taking my call. Yeah, I was watching the game, and I just wanted to suggest a lineup. Butler, Green, Pods, Kaminga. I agree with you there. And the fifth guy, Looney, to start it off, just because we need a rebounder. I noticed we went gaps with nobody rebounding. And maybe if he's in there at the beginning of the game, he could kind of get a rebound, throw back out to one of the guys that are missing, help them get in a rhythm or some kind of flow, and then go from there and start Buddy off the bench. And hopefully our bench, the role players, will do better at home, as everybody usually suggests or says.
Yeah, I can't go there. It's not enough shooting for me. You got to have some shooting out there. I think if you want to start Looney, then you can't start Kaminga. I think you could start Looney, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler for rebounding. But again, the Warriors won the rebounding battle. It was closer than it was in game two,
right.
Or I'm sorry, in game one. But I think you have to start Kaminga. I think if you want to start Looney, you can't start Kaminga. So I think you have to go with Buddy. And Buddy's been one of the Warriors' best and most important players here these last handful of games. So I think it's Pods and Buddy in the backcourt. You need Pods ball handling. You want him to try to be able to score and hit some shots and move the ball and be more decisive. I think as you look at Podziemski's got to be more decisive. He's been a little tentative. I think they need a more aggressive Jimmy Butler. That's the other thing. They need Buddy to have. If Buddy doesn't have a 20-point game or so, then I think they're going to be in trouble because they don't have enough shooting really from other areas on the roster. I think Jimmy Butler's got to be more aggressive. I think he's got to be looking to score more quickly. I think they got to try to get what they got out of Kaminga tonight again. Draymond's got to be better than he was tonight. TJD, I would give some run to, and then the rest of those guys, maybe they play better, maybe they don't. But I think Looney can definitely be playable though. But I don't think you can start him because I think you need Kaminga to start Saturday.
I think it comes down to what it came down to the end of the season. We needed to win one of the three. I believe at the beginning of the series, we needed to win one of three. Right now, we need to win again one of the next three. Well,
that's
now,
Well, yeah, I mean, eventually you got to. I mean, the reality is you got to win 3 of the next 5, or your season is over. But I think you got to win, obviously, one of the next 3. But I think it's really one of the next 2. You don't want to come back to Minnesota down 3-1 for Game 5. That and again, I know Steph hasn't officially been ruled out for Game 5, and we'll play the comments coming up. I don't think Steph's not playing in Game 5. Like, let's just be real about it. Steph's not playing in Game 5. I have my doubts now after today as to whether or not he's even going to come back at all or be able to, not from lack of wanting to, but be able to. Again, let's kind of table that conversation until we know more at the reevaluation point, which is going to be on Wednesday. And let's also see where the Warriors are at that point. If they're 3-1 down because they just lost 2 home games, then I think it's, we had the caller earlier that said, are you going to play Steph, if it's an emergency? Like, no, I think if anything, you'd be less apt at that point to push it if you're down 3-1. But again, this injury is significant enough to where I think, and Steph said this in so many words, he really will find out the timeline as to how, based on taking the week off and seeing how he feels at that point, going through all the rehab and everything. But again, I don't think it's going to be in game 5. Manny, thanks for the call, man. Appreciate it. From Manny, let's go to Duck Sauce down in the South Bay in San Jose. What's up, Duck Sauce?
JD, what's going on? Can you hear me okay, or is there an echo?
No, I got you, brother. You sound great.
Okay, cool, man. Yeah, just a few takes, brother. First, similar to one of the callers earlier, I in a weird way, I did kind of leave the game somewhat optimistic. It wasn't so much anything the Warriors did, but it was more about I still just wasn't overly impressed with how Minnesota looks.
Sure.
I think I do think we match up well with them in a lot of ways on the defensive side, and I personally don't trust Julius Randle. Like, I love when, if they could somehow bait him into more one-on-one coverage, like him going at Draymond or Jimmy one-on-one, I'll go with that. You know, I mean, I know he's going to make shots sometimes, but that guy takes bad shots, man. Like, I'll play those odds. And Gobert is terrible. To me, he's awful. Like, when he's on the floor, I'm happy. Like, when they bring Naz Reid in, that's when I get scared, to be honest with you. But I kind of left.
He kills the Warriors.
Yeah, no, he does kill the Warriors, no doubt. And you know, I agree with you that Pods has to play just for the simple fact we have no other option. But I thought he was awful tonight. I thought Moody looked shook. Like that play at the start of the game when he came in and he had like a semi 2-on-1 break and he just pulled up and shoots an air ball. Like, I don't get it, man. Like, I don't know how he's plummeted so fast, but he looked shook. I thought Guy Santos looked shook. You know, when Steph's out, when Steph's gone, man, like, it really exposes how many guys are able to score off the gravity he brings. And it also exposes how many guys we have on this roster that can't create a shot for themselves. I mean, many people weren't even, you know, and so many people are not even turning and looking at the basket, JD. And the last thing I want to say to that, which was my main point, is this Jimmy Butler thing. Like, are we going to keep pretending that it's not something bigger? Like, it's almost mental to me at this point. Like, read the room. You got to be aggressive. He almost does this thing where he's pretending that he's facilitating JD, and then he'll kick it last second. Those are grenades, man. Those are as bad as a turnover. Like, as bad as Moody was, I couldn't even blame him for those 2 air balls in the second half because Jimmy's just kicking it to him with 2 seconds to go on the shot clock. I mean, there was one towards the end of the game. In the fourth quarter, I believe, he had a layup at the rim, and he turns his whole body and kicks it out for a 3. To me, it's almost like, are you getting on like some Ben Simmons mental block? Like, what is going on, man? It frustrates the hell out of me. But yeah, sorry for rambling, JD. I appreciate the time as always, man.
Yeah, thanks, Duck Sauce. No, I think at times and you saw tonight, I mean, and it's happened in some other games too, when he goes up and attacks at the rim, he'll get it thrown. Like, he's gotten his shot blocked in dramatic, you know, emphatic fashion. And I think, you know, at times he isn't confident that he can finish, I think, at the rim once he gets in there, or he can get a shot off in some of these situations. So he does kick it out. But no, he's got to look to score more. I'm not sure just where his game is on that front right now, based on, you know, the time off, obviously, that he had before coming to the Warriors. Like, it's felt to me, really, for the entire time that he's been with the Warriors, like he's just not quite the fullest version of himself. We've seen glimpses of it. We've seen some spectacular individual games, but and he's made you think he can flip the switch basically whenever he wants to. But I don't think the reality exists right now for Jimmy to where it's just that automatic in terms of the ability to flip the switch. So I think that's something to, you know, as we move forward here, everybody's waiting for him to try to dominate this thing in terms of scoring. And we know he could do more than like he did in this game, and he's done at different points. But I think how much, you know, can he dial that up every night? Is it once a series? You know, I think that's the question. Or is it have to be more of the 18 to 20, you know, 7, 7, and 7, not, you know, 22, not, you know, 18, not 10 and 9, 18, 10 and 7, you know, those kinds of lines, as opposed to the 35s and all of that kind of thing. So let's keep moving here with Dino. Is it Dino? What did I say? Yeah, Dino and Pacheco. What's up, Dino?
Yeah, it's like Dino the dinosaur. I'm 67. I got that name when I was young, when I was about 5.
Perfect, Dino. Love it.
The nickname. Yeah, it's just a nickname, brother. But everybody knows me out here in Pacheco and Concord and Pleasant Hill and all that. But I've been out here all my life. But anyway, JD, I was trying to tell you, you know, I've never talked to you before. I talked to, like, you know, Carrie and
sure
FP and everybody. JD, you're good, man. I've always loved listening to your shows all the time, and you're really good at analysis and your demeanor and just it's just wonderful. I mean, you're honest too. You're not a big, you talk reality. You're not a huge company man, kind of homer man kind of dude. So I appreciate that, JD.
No, thanks, man. I appreciate the compliment.
Yeah, right on. But I just wanted to say that, like I said, I'm up there. I've lived a little, like Gary Radnich used to say.
Yeah.
So I'm a young 67, very young. And, I just wanted to say, and a former high level athlete before an injury, but anyway,
okay.
I just want to say, JD, that, losing Steph Curry and with this particular injury, there's always hope. I mean, my faith is huge as far as in the Lord and all that stuff. And but as far as reality too, this particular injury, JD, this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good at all for the season. For the season,
no.
I mean, this guy might be out. This guy might be out for the whole season. I mean, even if they advance, which I don't even see it. I don't even see this happening. But I don't like being negative. I'm not being negative at all. I'm trying to be real. This doesn't look good at all, JD.
Well, here's the thing, Dino. I mean, I'll jump in real quick here. I mean, if he's a week away from being reevaluated, that's the day of Game 5. Okay, he's not playing in Game 5, right there, because he's not doing it. He again said earlier today he's not really able to do anything until that reevaluation point, other than rest it and get treatment. So he's not playing Game 5, and if you get the go ahead to start some basketball activities or some light movement or whatever on Wednesday. Yes, there's this 3-day break this coming Wednesday, but you're not going to get ready off a hamstring in all likelihood in 3 days, like and there's a big time likelihood that you could re-injure a hamstring as well, or make it worse, or pull it, or all of that. So it felt to me, and again, I'm not a doctor, and people get frustrated, Dino, when you go down that road of trying to speculate too much on an injury. We truly don't know, but to me, Steph was saying I'm a week away from being a week away. And a week away from being a week away means you're going to have to win this series, and then maybe he could come back at the beginning of the next one. And so that, I think, opens a whole nother can of worms for the Warriors here as they try to survive this thing. But to your point, even that isn't a guarantee if there's any kind of a setback as he tries to get back.
That's right. That's exactly right, JD. And the thing is, that's even, obviously they're going to put out, just like the government and everything else, they're only going to put out the good numbers. I mean, the most highest possible good numbers, maybe, like his 6-day evaluation or whatever, or, back in 6 days he's going to get reevaluated. I mean, but what I'm saying is, I guess what I'm leaning towards is, just like you said, I mean, and we all know, like, because you've lived, what a hamstring is, and a real injury like that is, but the likelihood is just not pretty. It's just not pretty. No. I mean, I'd be surprised. Let's say they won the series. I'd be surprised if he played the rest of any of the rest of the season. I mean,
no. And again, and if you come back and you re-injure it, then it is over. Then you aren't coming back. Like that's the reality. Like maybe you do get to a point where you can come back in Game 2 if they can advance to the next series or whatever. But then you re-injure it, and then it's another month, and then the season's over because there's only 3 weeks left in the season between the that round and the finals, and obviously you're not going to win the next round. I think the only thing that has people thinking the Warriors have a shot here is just how poorly, Dino, the Timberwolves have played in the first 2 games. I still think we haven't seen the best of them. If the Warriors can continue to defensively and with their grit and their fight, if they can continue to prevent the best version of the Wolves from showing up, they've got a shot to win another game or 2 in this series. I think even saying that, though, it's going to be tough to win this series without Steph if he isn't coming back for it.
Yeah, you know what? Just one more thing, JD. You're right. I forgot. And the thing is, too, is you can't lose. Just his presence alone on the court makes a difference. Even if he doesn't score very much, which we saw like one of those games in the last series. He didn't score very much, and Buddy Hield and everybody else scored a ton. I mean, just his presence. You can't lose a Steph Curry's presence and be the same.
Totally.
But
Thanks. Hey,
you're
Dino,
right.
thank
You're
you.
right. Okay, you take care, JD. Thanks, man.
No, I appreciate it, man. Dino checking in, and thank you for the compliment, and thank you for, you said it was your first time calling when I'm on. Well, don't make it the last time that you call when I'm on, because we're going to be back after the game on Saturday, after Game 4, after Game 5, and we love taking calls. We love interacting in the chat, and I love having a back and forth here on Dubs OT. Let's get to some more chats, Kyle. Let's go about 5-6 minutes with the chats. We like to mix them in every segment. LM starting lineup is not as important, but the 8 that you trust to play, Post and Moody can't be part of that 8. If I had to pick 8, Kyle, let's think about this for a second. If you had to pick 8 for Saturday, well, we know this. It's Pods, it's Heald, it's Butler, it's Kuminga now, and it's Draymond. That's 5 of the 8. So who are the other 3 if that's 5 of the 8? I think GP2 has got to be in that conversation. I think you have to pick a big that's going to be in that conversation. I do think you still have to pick, and I think that's TJD, because we're not starting TJD. And TJD, I think, earned, he showed enough to where if you can find some other combinations that work with TJD, and the 5 that you like that are already out there. So I think Peyton's the 6th. I think TJD's the 7th. And that's where it gets dicey. Do you give Moody another crack as the 8th? Is it, I think it's not Santos. It's not Post. Is it Pat Spencer?
Yeah.
Because I think it might be Pat Spencer because you need a backup point guard. And
Right.
Pat Spencer right now is your backup point guard. So he would have to play at least 3 to 5 minutes in each half. So I think the 8 by position would almost have to be Pat Spencer. And then you just have to determine Moody. I still think is somebody that I might give a shot to if you're looking for a 9th. But I think right now, again, it's crazy to think, but it feels like right now the 8 would be Pods, Buddy, Jimmy, Kuminga, Draymond, TJD, GP2, and Pat Spencer. Man, wild times.
Wild times.
Did we miss somebody there? I'm out on Knox. I don't think Knox did anything tonight. I don't think people. Yeah.
Yeah, just trying to go quickly down. Post, Looney could be in contention. But if you're playing TJD, I don't think you really have any minutes to give for Looney, since you want to give Draymond those minutes at the 5. And then,
Yeah, I think Post is out for sure. I think Santos is out for sure.
Yeah.
I think Pat Spencer's probably in for sure because you need a backup point guard. And Moody's the one that, they keep giving him chances because I think if you get a decent version of Moses Moody, he really helps. But I don't know that we've ever seen Moody play this badly in his career, honestly. I mean, even when he hasn't played, he hasn't played. Typically we're saying, hey, why aren't you playing him? Could you maybe play him a little bit more? Moody's been truly awful here these last handful of games. So I think it comes down to
quick stat. Yep. I think last 3 games, 0 for 5, 0 for 4, 0 for 5. Last 3 games.
Yeah, not good. Not good. Let's get a couple more here in the chat. 808 KNBR as well, 415-808-5627. Come on, guys. When Moody was starting, we had a great record. We know he can contribute, but he hasn't. And not only has he not contributed, it's one thing to not contribute. It's another thing to be horrifically bad. I mean, Duck Sauce was all over it. I mean, when he got the ball in transition, should have just pulled it out because they didn't have numbers. Like, if you're not going to attack and get to the rim, then you pull it out. But he pulls it out, shoots that jumper, air balls. I mean, he had 3 air balls tonight. Like, most of it, he had 3 air balls tonight. Like that. When do you get 3? When do you see a player have 3 air balls? And his shot's been off even prior to that. So, again, I said going into Game 7 in Houston, I would have gone back to Moody. Steve stuck with Buddy Hield. Steve was right. I was wrong. I do like that 5 player group together, and they were 19-3 with Podziemski and Moody and Jimmy and Draymond and Steph. Well, now you don't have Steph. So again, it changes the calculus on everything that you're. I'm not out on Moody, and again, I think Moody's on the team next year. Moody's on the team. I don't think Kuminga is on the team next year, but right now Kuminga is ahead of Moody. Again, life comes at you fast, but with the Steph Curry injury and it changing what this team needs and what this team has, he's moved into a position where I think at least everything's game to game right now. But going into Saturday, you need Kuminga, and Kuminga's ahead of Moody. After Moody had been ahead of Kuminga really since the for the entirety of Jimmy Butler being on the roster. Florida Dubs fan, if Kerr gives Moody one more shot, best be 5 minutes or less just to test him out. I kind of feel like that's what it's going to be. But the first two games of this series have not been pretty. The end of the Rocket series was not pretty. And I think if Moody and Post get one more shot, because let's be honest, Steve's not only playing, he's not going to play 8. We're talking about 8 you trust. He's still going to play 2 more. And if he played 2 more off the 8 we put in there, I think Moody would be 9. And I think Post would probably get back out there and be 10. And you would be hoping that it would be the role players play better at home thing. And that role players would hit. You're hoping that Moody can hit some, get the shot going at home. You're hoping that Post can hit a couple shots. You're hoping that Podziemski, even as a starter and somebody that's going to play a lot, can hit a couple of shots moving forward, and being back at home will get him more comfortable. But yeah, I think if it is more time for Moody, it's going to be a real short last stand kind of a deal. Role players aren't role players if you don't have a star. Wow, that is profound. Breathe well. That is correct. And I think Jimmy is a star in his own right and has a way he likes to operate. And I think the Warriors are trying to lean in on Jimmy, but they did not have it figured out in terms of the types of players that have to play with Jimmy to allow Jimmy to be his most successful in the way Jimmy likes to operate. And so I think that's something that you have to factor in. But yeah, when you don't have Steph, and we've seen it, since Jimmy has come in, it's one win, right? Without Steph, I think 1 win without him. I mean, Monday doesn't count because he still played. But it's the Milwaukee game. The Milwaukee game after they lost the Denver game, right? Or yeah, the Milwaukee game when they rested him. Like that's the one. But yeah, role players aren't role players if you don't have a star. And I think we've seen the point I wanted to make off of that is we've seen with the Warriors specifically that when the Warriors haven't had both of those guys, the role players really don't look like role players. Like there is a deep decline. And I think, in that world, a guy like Kuminga actually becomes a little bit more useful. And again, I think we saw it tonight. It shouldn't surprise anyone that, getting more opportunity to play longer stretches. It's the classic, like Kuminga fits a lot better when he can just be the second scorer and try to score and do it his way and not have to worry about the system or the minutes or getting the ball to Steph or anything like that. So I think that's where this team's at. Let's get one more here before we take a quick timeout. Barkley was saying the Warriors have no backup point guard. They don't really. I mean, it's Podziemski. Normally he'll start and then sub out and then come back for Steph, and Jimmy Butler typically will also come back in. So it's kind of Jimmy and Podziemski, and it's a little bit of Draymond mixed in there some of the time, but you still have to have somebody that can be a ball handler. And Podziemski has been the backup point guard, even as the starting 2 guard next to Steph. But right now it's Pat Spencer. Right now Pat Spencer is essentially the backup point guard. But is he a true point guard? Not really in every sense of the word that you want it to be. But yeah, they don't have a traditional veteran classic, backup point guard. That I do think is a fair assessment, Mickey D, from where Charles Barkley is coming from there. All right, let's take a timeout. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. More on the phone lines coming up. We got a couple of lines open. We'll get to our Sounds of Dubs OT coming up as well, but let's do more in the chat. We'll do some text coming back, and then maybe a short segment here, and then we'll get to Sounds of Dubs OT, and we'll close it up here with Fun with Numbers before we call it a night. And by the way, we got a full edition of Just Dubs coming your way on Saturday, 10 to 12. Kyle, I hope you're aware of this. Okay, I hope you were clued in on this. We haven't had a chance to talk about it, the two of us, because it's been very, very busy week with the game in Houston and the 2 games in Minnesota and all that. And we did not do it Just Dubs on Saturday last week, but we're back on KNBR and on YouTube. So we'll reconvene after tonight with some more thoughts, some more analysis, and take calls and do all that as we preview Game 3 and Game 4, which are coming up Saturday and Monday at Chase. So stay tuned for that on Saturday, but more Dubs OT with JD straight ahead here on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Dub Nation, this is the real and inside story on Warriors basketball. Dubs OT with John Dickinson continues. Streaming live at twitch.tv/thesportsleader.
Pajemski drives, kicks, Kuminga, three-pointer, good! Warriors not going away here.
Jonathan Kuminga, 17 points on 8 for 8 from the floor. The only thing he's missed is 2 free throws.
Yeah, Jonathan Kuminga, a Warriors high 18 in 26 minutes, 8 of 11. He did miss his final 3 shots, the 2 free throws. Actually, 3 free throws. He missed another one late. 1 for 4 at the line was Jonathan Kuminga, but 18 points, 5 boards, an assist in 26 minutes. And I think Jonathan Kuminga, with Steph out, has earned his way back into the Warriors rotation, at least for Game 3 coming up on Saturday. Tonight, though, not the Dubs night. 117-93 is the final. We welcome you back here to Dubs OT with JD on the Sports Leader. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627. As we look at what didn't work for the Warriors without Stephen Curry tonight and look ahead to Saturday, and how does Steve Kerr cobble together a rotation, because the goal truly try to win one of the next 2 at a minimum to keep your season alive going into a Game 6, but season on the line to be sure. Saturday and Monday at Chase Center. But the one thing we know, and obviously Steph Curry was a part of the win on Tuesday against the Timberwolves in Minneapolis, but the Warriors did come in and get a split, which means they've got a shot. And I think the one thing that has Warrior fans feeling good about where the Warriors are, and they're going to fly home tonight, by the way, so they're going to get home late and then just do the whole rest all day, sleep all day thing, and reconvene with a film session in the lead up to Saturday's game, which is going to be an earlier 5:30 start in San Francisco on Saturday night. So yeah, I know some the Warriors had stayed over and flown back at different times during the playoffs, or even in the regular season. They would stay over and fly on to the next city the next day. But the Warriors in this particular situation fly back, get as much rest as you possibly can tonight, whether it's on the plane or even if you get into your bed at home extremely late, sleep in, take all day tomorrow as a recovery other than a film session, and try to gather and get ready for the earlier tip-off. It's going to be the first earlier tip-off for the Dubs, with the 8:30 game on Tuesday, the 7:30 game in Minneapolis Central Time, and then now try to get the body clock back on California time, as the Warriors are going to be playing for the first time in a week at Chase Center on Saturday. All right, 808 KNBR. Let's get a couple of calls here, and then back to the chat before the top of the hour. We will go a little bit beyond 10 o'clock tonight, as well as we look here at 9:40. We'll get some calls, we'll get some chats, got some texts on the Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line moving forward as well. And then we'll do our Sounds of Dubs OT coming up at the top of the 10 o'clock hour and call it an evening at that point, before we get back together on Saturday morning from the home studio Saturday morning for Just Dubs, 10 a.m. until noon, and then over to Chase and Harmonic and Thrive City for Dubs OT after the Warriors take on the Timberwolves. Georgie in Burlingame next here on Dubs OT. Hey, Georgie.
Hey, how's it going, JD?
I'm doing well. What's on your mind tonight?
So I just want to say about, regarding the series against the Rockets, I think if they only finished that series in Game 5, they didn't have too much toll on their body, because going to Game 7, I think it affected everyone's body, especially Stephen Curry, because, he's getting banged, like holding, is, those very physical games. So I think that might cause the unfortunate injury to Stephen Curry.
Yeah, I think it may have contributed, Georgie, and it's unfortunate if it did contribute. But I think the Warriors were in a position where there was really nothing they could do. You have to ride it out. If you could have been able to win in 5. Again, I don't think winning in 5 is something that any team, especially a team without home court advantage, should do. I think the game that got away from them was the game 6. That's the game that you want to win. And if you had that, you would have gotten an extra day going into game 1. Would an extra day have mattered? Maybe. Maybe an extra day would have mattered. But we've seen the Warriors do this, and the Warriors have had their share of injuries, Georgie, over the years in the playoffs. But we've seen the Warriors physically wear down their opponents as series goes on, and they've had players that would sustain injuries, and part of that would be just the level at which you'd have to play constantly. I mean, I go back to not from necessarily an injury standpoint, but even in the Rocket series, Amen Thompson, Game 7, chasing Steph Curry around, he is gassed. I mean, this is a guy that's an elite defender, and I think he's only going to get better. But chasing Steph around, even at 37 for 7 games, and all of the running and shifting gears and shifting directions, it adds up. And we've seen the Warriors wear teams down. I think as an older team, as a maybe a less talented team than we've seen the Warriors have in the past, I think we're seeing a lot of that at this particular point in time catch up with them. And unfortunately, Georgie, it's the cost of doing business sometimes when you have a little bit of an older team. I know I haven't gotten too deep into the whole – we've tried to keep it to, hey, what are the takeaways from tonight that can be effective for the Warriors on Saturday? But I also think the one thing that I've said a lot, and I think – we'll get into more of it as the series goes on here, is we're also through this playoff run, however long it lasts for the Warriors, we're evaluating the offseason. And again, it's not a night-to-night topic because we're in the middle of a playoff series, but we're also evaluating what this team needs in the offseason to be able to withstand, whether not having Steph Curry for a stretch in the regular season or just to be able to win a playoff game if you have to without Steph and types of players. Like, you want to be able to have complementary players to Jimmy and Steph and Jimmy. You also want to be able to have complementary players to, if you're missing one, you've got enough players that can do enough things to play with the other and be able to win games. So I think it is an evaluation in the big picture as it relates to next year as well, Georgie.
Yeah, I agree. I agree on what you said. Also regarding Pods, I know, especially in the comments, a lot are saying bad things about Pods, but yeah, I do agree with them. But the thing is, like you mentioned, we don't have any ball handler. So basically, with Steph Curry out, Pods is going to be our default point guard, and we can't really do about it. But the only thing I don't like about Pods is like his indecisiveness. Basically, sometimes when he gets the basket, he just stops, and then he doesn't know what to do. He's either going to shoot it or pass it out. And sometimes you can see he travel too, but they just don't call travels nowadays in NBA.
Yeah, no, the indecisiveness, I think, is the biggest problem. Take the open shot if it's there. If it's not, keep it moving. But it's got to be split-second decisions. It's got to be, keep it moving, because the Warriors are at their best. They're doing it a different way right now with Jimmy as the headliner and Steph out, but the Warriors are at their best when the ball is moving, whether it's Jimmy setting up others or whether it's the traditional ball movement that we see in the Steph Curry offense. And what mucks that up more than anything is indecisiveness. And we see it with Kuminga. That's, I think, a big part of the reason why Kuminga found his way out of the rotation is he doesn't make those decisions quickly. Look to score or look to pass. Sometimes he thinks about it for a second and it's too late. He can't score then and he can't pass then. But Pods is, you got to make the decisions quickly if you're going to be, if you're going to be effective. So good call, Georgie. Thank you for it. We'll continue. We'll talk to you again soon. All right, let's continue with Dave in Modesto next. 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Warriors lose 117-93 to the Timberwolves in Minneapolis, and it's on to Game 3 on Saturday. What's up tonight, Dave?
Oh, not much. Just a little disappointed in tonight's game. But
yeah, I can.
Sometimes you lose them, sometimes you don't.
No, that's true. And look, this is going to be tough without Steph. I mean, can they win another game or two? I think they can. But I also think they're going to have to hope Steph has the ability to come back for the last game or two to be able to finish it off. But I do think tonight there were some things that can be used in Game 3 to, at least as an extension of tonight, give them a little bit of a better chance. I think they learned some things tonight, Dave.
Yeah, what I think they need to do, and I think they would go right to the top of the West as a contender in the offseason to look. Their first mistake, I think, getting rid of Chris Paul was a mistake because he's a great floor general. He's a good, ball handler and passing and stuff. But I think what ate them like in the Houston series is rebounding. Houston just rebounded them, just out-rebounded them every point of the game. Now, I'm thinking that if the Warriors in this offseason go take a run at Steven Adams, get a big man in the middle like we had when Iguodala was there winning the championships, and we get a rebounder, it takes some pressure off Draymond so he's not getting these technicals and get kicked out of the game. It kind of helps everybody else a little bit.
I love the Steven Adams. I love the Steven Adams idea. I mentioned it, actually, we were talking about it the other night after Game 7. He is going to be a free agent. I think he's somebody that you could start him. You said Iguodala. I think you meant Bogut as the big
man.
Yeah, and it just and he does a lot of those things. You wouldn't have to play him heavy minutes. I think the key for the Warriors, I think, moving forward at the big man spot is having guys that have different skill sets, right? You have, Adams does what Adams does. You can play smaller with Draymond. You can have Post who can shoot the three. Like you need to have, maybe you keep Looney around, maybe you don't. Maybe it's TJD or Looney. Although I think Adams would be kind of a Looney replacement, to be perfectly honest. If they, look to do that. And, TJD's different than Post. It's different from Adams, right? So if those are your three bigs and then you play small with Draymond, I think that has the potential to work out. But no, I like Adams. He may be a little too expensive, believe it or not, for the Warriors because of how well he played down the stretch and in the playoffs. But I think that's a good name as we head toward the offseason here, which I know Warrior fans are hoping we're not. Warrior fans are hoping we're not talking offseason in the next week. We're maybe talking offseason in about a month, I think is what Warrior fans are hoping for here. But we'll see how the next few games shake out. Dave, thanks for the call, man.
All right, thanks.
All right, 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Back to the chat. Actually, before we get to the chat, I do want to get a couple on the Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line. 925. Moody has the yips. He needs a DNP in the box score. That from the 925. 209. Could someone tell Draymond to stop flailing his arms, trying to get a foul, and it winds up being a foul against him, and that's happened a couple of times, and after the play technical. And I think that's what Draymond was ticked about, was the fact that was deemed to be an after-the-play technical. And I think what Draymond is saying is it was part of the play. It wasn't me trying to do something after the play, although if it becomes part of the play, then maybe they have to call it a flagrant foul as opposed to a technical foul. And then you've got a scenario where and again, they called the foul on Naz Reid on the play, and then Draymond got him after the fact. But again, it was kind of on the follow through. So I think that's what set Draymond off, not defending him, but I'm just saying I think that's what set him off. He's thinking this is all the same play. Like, what the hell are we doing? That doesn't make a lot of sense. And then 650 Jimmy is also playing hurt. That might have something to do with maybe the lack of aggressiveness. And I think that's a fair point. We forget that Jimmy did have a significant fall here, 2 weeks ago? It feels like it's all running together. I guess it was 2 weeks ago in game 2 of that series, which would have been 2 weeks ago last night, I guess. Man, time is flying here in the playoffs and all the back and forth in Houston and San Francisco and Houston and San Francisco and Houston again and Minnesota and San Francisco again and Minnesota again. It's just the days the days really start running together with all these games coming so fast and furious. But yes, Jimmy hurt as well, I think, is something that is definitely you can't completely overlook it as to maybe why he's not consistently being aggressive. Dig on 117 back to the YouTube chat. Curry can't go 35 plus minutes anymore. I think age is a factor. I think it's the reason Kerr limited him in the regular season, but back-to-back games of 40 wears you down, especially how he plays. No doubt. It's again, if the Warriors don't do it, they don't win the last series. So, but by doing it, it may cost them in this series, which is trouble. Again, the good news on Curry, I mean, this is not going to be some kind of career debilitating, type of an injury. It's a grade 1 hamstring strain. Like, Curry's going to be fine. What you don't want, though, is to have it be a rush to come back and then you pull or tear the hamstring and then it messes up your offseason in a really big way, and it becomes something that can become a recurring problem. And I think that's also what you want. Like, you don't want, Steph hasn't had a muscle injury in his entire career, which goes back to 2009. That's fine. But he doesn't have that, but you don't want him, now that he's got the first one, to be more prone to continue to have them. That's a big part of the next year thing for me, Kyle. It's build a roster to where you can give him back-to-backs off a lot and still be able to win games. And I think the Warriors are going to have to manage it. There's going to be nights where you're going to give Steph a night off, and Jimmy's going to play with. And you need a team that can play with Jimmy, and you need a team that can play with Steph, because you're not going to play Jimmy all the time. Jimmy was fresh because Jimmy had all the time off because of the suspensions. And Jimmy's a guy that when he's locked in and he's happy and he has his joy, he wants to play a lot and doesn't want to not play. But in the regular season, over the long haul, I mean, this isn't 31 games of Jimmy. The Warriors are going to want, I think, 65 games of Jimmy next year, but they're going to give him some nights off too. I think 60-65 is probably the target, but you also don't want to be winning, 48 games. You want to be winning 52, 53 games too. Like, that has to be the target, but you don't want to have to work as hard for all of them as the Warriors had to work down the stretch. 23-8 in the final 31 or whatever it was, just to get to a point where they were in that position on the final day of the year to avoid the play-in if they had won, get into the play-in if they had lost, and have to start playing the extra games. Max Lopez, Curry got hurt in the 16 playoffs, but you had adults like Livingston and Iggy. You did, and you also had Klay Thompson. You also had young Klay Thompson. But Livingston and Iggy with Draymond could handle the point guard, ball movement, defensive responsibilities, and then you still had one of the great shooters of all time entering his prime on this Warriors team as well. But yeah, he got hurt there, and again, kind of a fluky type injury as it relates to this one. On defense, little bit of a slip, and there it goes. So, and again, Steph tried to play through it a couple of plays, but we'll see how things move forward. But yeah, you gotta build the roster with a little bit more of the ability, maybe not to win playoff games without Steph. I mean, nobody's built to win playoff games without their star players. Like, that's just not reality. That was a unique thing that the Warriors had enough other stars to be able to win those games when Steph was out and win those series really kind of effortlessly, a lot of them when Steph was out. I mean, I couldn't believe it today. Like, the Warriors, I think, in the playoffs without Steph were like 9-3, like coming into today. 9-3 in the playoffs without Steph. And you're thinking, a lot of Houston, some Portland's in there, but oh my gosh, like 9-3 without Steph? That's ridiculous. It's absurd. All right, continuing on here. We got to take a timeout, actually. Might as well unleash JK and let the man run wild. Probably good for 18 points. I think that's what they're going to do. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll get to sounds of Dubs OT and fun with numbers, and one final installment of Kyle's Clicks as Dubs OT rolls on here on the Sports Leader.
KNBR presents the sounds of Dubs OT.
I can see the headline now. Kerr says Warriors better without Curry.
No class, no ball.
I want to get my joy back. I'm happy here, off the court.
Now here's John Dickinson.
All right, Warriors lose 117-93 as the series is tied at a game apiece. Game 3 on Saturday from Chase Center in San Francisco. It is Dubs OT with JD. Appreciate everybody watching on YouTube and Twitch. The callers sent a lot of really good callers at 808 KNBR 415-808-5627. Let's get to our sounds at Dubs OT following the loss. And we'll start, as we often do, with the head coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr. Thoughts on tonight's game as it relates to moving forward in Game 3 and Game 4. We're also going to hear from Steph Curry from Warriors shoot-around at Target Center earlier today as he addressed the injury and a couple of things that made me a little bit less optimistic at the prospect of Steph's ability to be able to come back and play in this series. So we'll get into all of that coming up here as well. And then a Jimmy Butler cut and a Jonathan Kuminga cut tonight as he ended up scoring a game-high 18 for the Warriors against the Timberwolves. All right, first one, Steve Kerr, and big topic of discussion on the show. Was this kind of a feeling out game? Was it intentional to be able to play so many players? And I mean, you look at it tonight, I mean, I'm going, look, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I mean, 14 players played for the Warriors. I think 11 were in the rotation tonight. But Steve was asked, what was the plan as far as all of that heading into Game 2?
Well, I think part of the game plan coming in was to play a lot of people, and we did. I think we played 13, 14 people in the first half. And part of the reasoning is, obviously the fatigue of the run we've been on with all the travel and the games, but part of it also is we have to figure out what we're going to be able to do in this series without Steph. And so we gave a lot of people a lot of chances, and then, some guys really stepped up. Trace and JK were both really good in this game. You could see that their athleticism was important.
Yeah, and I think that's your tell as it relates to who's going to get the opportunity moving forward as we get into game 3 and Game 4. And I think it is going to be Kuminga, and I think it is going to be Trace Jackson-Davis who are going to get opportunities in the rotation. We gave you the 8 earlier. I think it's Podziemski as a starter with Buddy. I think you stick with that. Need the shooting. I think Jimmy's going to be out there. And look, Steve's been reluctant to play the Jimmy, Kuminga, Draymond group. I think you start that group on Saturday because of the way Kuminga played. I think the crowd's going to be into Kuminga playing, to be honest, also. So maybe you get a little bit of a lift there on a night where it would otherwise be a tenuous crowd. Obviously, playoff game without Steph Curry in a 1-1 series. We're clearly the underdog now because Steph is going to be out. So maybe Kuminga can lift the spirits of the crowd. And again, I think he earned it by virtue of his play. All right, let's hear a couple of cuts from Steph. And we talked about this earlier today at shoot-around in Minneapolis at Target Center. Steph is one time addressing the injury before his return as mandated by the NBA. And so Steph addressing the question about a timeline for a return. I think it was Anthony Slater of The Athletic who asked that question. And here's what Steph had to say.
Eventually, there'll be conversations like that. I'm not even anywhere close to that right now, so I'm not rushing it. Because like I said, there has to be a natural healing process that happens, and the body will tell you, even if you're able to do like normal basketball movements, pain-free and all that stuff. And I know how tricky hamstrings can be, where they can fool you and think that it's healed even if you don't feel anything. And so that gray area will be confusing, I'm sure, but I'll do everything in my power to get back as soon as possible.
All right. So, yeah, I think that's the first sign where eventually there'll be conversations on a timeline. It sounds, though, like Steph is not really going to have those conversations until he gets reevaluated on Wednesday. And if that's the case, it just starts to strike me as is there really this possibility that he can play in Game 6? It feels to me like it's Game 6 at the earliest, and it also feels to me like there's the prospect for Game 6. Game 6 to at some point be deemed to be still too soon, even with the grade 1 hamstring strain. All right, let's hear another one on the timeline and the target date for Steph. A second one on that same line.
This is new, and from all that I'm learning about how quickly you can get back, there has to be a healing process is just the way the body works. You can't accelerate it more than what it's telling you. So after a week, like really reevaluating every day to kind of understand when it's safe just to even think about playing, let alone like how much can you push it.
After a week, it becomes day-to-day. Another, again, reading the tea leaves there. After a week, it becomes day-to-day in terms of being able to get back on the court and play. And then the next step is how much you can push it. And let's be honest, if you push it too far and you pull it or you tear it, it's over at that point. It's over. You're missing you're missing a month, and there isn't a month left in the season. At that point, you're talking about having to get to the finals and get mid finals to be able to have an impact there. So again, we try to stay optimistic and objective here on Dubs OT. Not officially, we'll point out, is Steph ruled out for Game 5, but I think he ain't playing Game 5. And again, I think Game 6 is almost the perfect scenario. Win one more game if you're the Warriors of the next 2 at home, you get to guaranteeing yourself a Game 6, and then you move forward with the prospect of him having the ability to play in Game 6. And if you win Game 6 and win Game 6, you come back for Game 7, you have Steph. Anything can happen. You won Game 1 at Target Center. Maybe you can win Game 7 at Target Center, but to do that, you'd want to obviously have to have Steph Curry in the mix. All right, continuing on here. More sounds at Dubs OT in our final segment tonight. And let's go from Steph to Jimmy Butler on the burden or expectation to put up massive scoring numbers in an attempt to live up to the playoff Jimmy timeline and help this Warriors team win.
I don't have a burden or expectation. I don't. I play basketball the right way. I will continue to play basketball the right way. If that time comes where, you're people that are saying whatever, supposed to score 40 or 43, whatever the case may be, I'm capable of it. I can do it. But I love making sure that my guys are comfortable, passing the ball to them, taking the right shots at the right time. But we'll talk about it. If that may be needed, who knows?
Yeah, and again, Steve Kerr said pregame tonight that he doesn't have to have the conversation with Jimmy as far as like looking to be more aggressive. Jimmy just knows and will do it on his own. Again, I do think anytime the Warriors lose these games where they're shorthanded and the others don't play well, there is, I think, among the fan base this angst of Jimmy's got to do more. Jimmy was brought here to do more. Playoff Jimmy, like let's see the Jimmy that took the Celtics out. Let's see the Jimmy that took the Bucks out in the playoffs and got to the bubble finals and got to another finals a couple of years ago against Denver. I do think, again, and I disagree with it a little bit. I don't think the Warriors got Jimmy Butler to be winning playoff series without Steph Curry. I think they got him to be good enough to be able to be in the top half of the Western Conference next year and to get into the playoffs this year and have a shot to win a round, which they've already done. And then you figure out like you could make the case that based on where this team was still on February the 5th, that they've overachieved or not overachieved, but at least exceeded their goal and expectation of, they got in, they had to play the extra game to get in, but they got in and they won a round. And again, that may not lead to a title. This injury may be part of that storyline, but I think, yes, it would be another year of Steph's prime gone without a title, but I also think this team would be really, truly set up in great position for next year if they're able to make a couple of moves. Continuing here, our sounds of Dubs OT from Jimmy Butler. We do have to hear from Jonathan Kuminga. It's only fair. Jonathan Kuminga playing well tonight, 18 points, and he talked about his quality night tonight.
Back then I had it here and there, when we didn't have Steph, but, I wasn't focused on that, really. I was just focusing on just coming in there, it don't matter how many minutes I get to just find a way to impact, and I end up getting 26 minutes. But I wasn't going out there expecting to have so many minutes. Just anytime my name get called, because I know one of these days my name was going to be called, and just go out there and just impact. Makes the best out of it.
There you go. And Jonathan Kuminga making an impact again. Rough first shift for Kuminga, but he was really good after that first shift. And again, you make your first 8 shots, and it wasn't only all at the rim. A lot of them were, but he hit a 3 tonight. He hit a couple of pull-up jumpers, which again, I'm not a fan of that shot. I don't think the coaching staff's a big fan of that shot, but he hit a couple of them tonight. And again, when you talk about the Warriors playing without Steph, he's going to have to take a few more of those shots here and there that typically would be the kinds of shots that you rarely would want him to take. So good night for Jonathan Kuminga. Again, I think probably the best night that Kuminga's had in quite some time. In a month, basically, probably longer than that, when he got taken out of the Warriors rotation at the end of the regular season. So good night overall for Jonathan Kuminga, and I think he is going to be part of the plan as the Warriors move forward here toward Saturday and then on Monday for Game 4. All right, let's move from our Sounds of Dubs OT to fun with numbers tonight as the Warriors lose this game.
This is Dubs OT with JD. Time now for fun.
I'm a fun guy.
With numbers.
No, I'm just having fun.
On KNBR 104.5 and 680. Streaming live on KNBR.com and the KNBR app.
All right, short and sweet. Warriors 1-1 in this series. 5-4 overall in the Western semifinals. 1-1 in this series in the Western Conference semifinals, are now 5-4 overall in the playoffs and 3-3 on the road in the playoffs. Warriors 20-8 in game 2s now in the Steve, Steph, Draymond era. And the Warriors didn't get to 100 tonight, only 93. They did allow 117, 2-2 in the playoffs now when they fail to score 100 points. 5 different starting lineups for the Warriors in 9 games of the NBA playoffs. That's far too many, but circumstances have dictated that it be necessary. Warriors allowed a 13-0 run to start the game, which was the largest run to start a game by any opponent in a playoff game in the play-by-play era. So that goes back to 97-98, a 12-0 run by Houston, game 4 of the 2015 conference finals. So that's against the Warriors specifically. Also matched the longest run to begin a game in the NBA playoffs this year. Milwaukee had a 13-0 start against Indiana in game 5 of that series. That was the game that Indiana came back and won late, that the Bucks blew. Timberwolves led start to finish, wire to wire, second time this year that the Warriors have been led for the entire game. 6th time overall this season. Fewest points the Warriors had scored in any quarter in the playoffs was the first quarter with the 15 tonight, as the Warriors playoff low 9 threes. So no Steph, and all of a sudden they're not hitting threes at all for Golden State. We talked about Kuminga, team high, playoff career high for Jonathan Kuminga, 18 points. Also a playoff career high, 8 made field goals for Jonathan Kuminga in this one. And you look at some of the others who played well in this game for the Warriors, a lot of struggles. Buddy Hield was 4 of 9 from 3, but nobody really shot it well. Jimmy Butler, only 13 shots, 17 points. He did with 17, 7 and 4 with a steal. But again, I think the Warriors are going to need a little bit more, or would hope to get a little bit more out of Jimmy Butler here as things continue to move forward. So some other notes here. Steph, we talked about the injury, missed his first playoff game since 2018. You had to go all the way back to game 1 of the Western semifinals against the Pelicans. That was early May of 2018. Warriors are 9-4 all-time in playoff games without Steph. That's crazy to think, as we talked about in the last segment. TJD had a playoff high 15 for his career. He was 6 for 6. And you look at others who were able to make at least 6 field goals without a miss. Kevon Looney did it, JaVale McGee, Chris Gatling back in the day, Clifford Ray back in the day, and Bob Warlick, the others. Buddy Hield, 15 or more points and made at least 4 threes in 3 consecutive games. Now 72 points, and he's made 18 threes over that span, but not the same Buddy Hield that the Warriors got in game 1 or game 7 that helped allow them to win those 2 games. All right, let's get to Kyle's Clicks, our final installment. That is fun with numbers. Kyle, what do we got, man? Let's finish strong here. Bobby Birdie, if Ant-Man didn't come back with Curry out this series, it'd be a wash. Yeah, how about the Anthony Edwards injury scare? That did not look good. And there were, that did not look good. That looked like definitely done for the night initially, and maybe we were going to start having the anticipation as to whether Ant could play Saturday or Monday, and never want to see anybody get hurt. There's no question it would have leveled the playing field in this series, but Anthony Edwards is big time, and it's pretty crazy to see how well he was able to bounce back, considering how bad that looked. And again, when it's only an ankle you can obviously come back from, I think, relatively quickly. But I think it's a scenario where, it looked like it was a bad one, or maybe even a high ankle. But then, he comes out and he's stretching it out, and he's working. Just it kind of miraculous. But again, youth. When you're young, you can bounce back, Kyle.
It pays to be 23.
It pays to be 23. There's no question. Continuing on here in the chat, Digum117. The offense is bad when the ball is finding Moody as the shot clock is running out. Boy, is it ever. Is it ever. That is not what you want. That is not what you want. And yeah, JD is like perfectly aligned under those lights. I do like symmetry.
It is a pretty neat background, I will say. I don't know where you are in the arena, but it is a cool background.
Who says I'm in an arena?
Oh yeah.
Who? Why do you think I'm in an arena, Kyle? Why would I be in an arena? Yeah, I am. I like symmetry. We'll leave it at that. No, everything's fine. You're good. I like symmetry. Moving forward, Andis Brown. Steph even kind of said this is uncharted waters for him. You can tell Steph was feeling down during this media session today. Yeah, it was not a good sign. It went from like I thought going into it, Game 6 is a real possibility. I feel like Game 6, Andis, is a long shot now. I feel like Game 6 it's not out of the realm, and they haven't even ruled him out for Game 5 officially yet, although they'll have to make a designation on Game 5 the day before Game 5, which is when they get on the plane to come back to Minneapolis. So we'll see how that ultimately shakes out. But yeah, I'm with you, Andis. I thought Steph was down. A couple more here in the chat. Bucco Sports, positive. 93 points without Steph. Oh, man. Yeah, the defense is going to have to be – yeah, the Warriors are touting their number one defense. That's great if you can hold people to 90. But, no, I just not enough shot making tonight. But, again, I think they found something in Kuminga. Robert Brown, at least JD got to hang out with Justin Jefferson, Randy Moss, and KG. Yeah, a lot of good folks in the Twin Cities. A lot of good folks in the Twin Cities. Put some Icy Hot on it, Steph. Well, that's the thing. You put some Icy Hot on it, and then you don't feel it, and then you tear it. And then you got to have a surgery in the offseason. That you don't. Again, this is not. It's not a. If it was a pain tolerance issue, I think Steph would miss a couple games and probably be back by like Monday. But it's not a pain tolerance issue. All right, let's get to our comment of the night here on Dubs.
Now, time for the Dubs OT comment of the night.
All right, Rusty Nail with the fancy font there. Rusty Nail, imagine that after all we've seen this year, we're going to have to push all our chips in on JK to save us this series. Incredible. Incredible. Life can come at you fast and full circle. But, yeah, I mean, for where it was, even in the first shift that he had tonight, to see him play as well as he did, they are pushing their chips in on him, I think, for game 3. I will say that. Maybe it's not the rest of the series, but they got to figure out a way to get one more win before they could get 3 more wins, whether Steph comes back or not. And so, yeah, that it is incredible to think, JK not really fully in the plans at the beginning of the year. Then he kind of had to be. They weren't winning. He gets hurt. They make the trade. He comes back. They're trying to figure out how it can fit. It doesn't fit. He gets cast aside. He plays mostly terribly when he gets opportunities. Even tonight in that first stint, as we're talking about, and now all of a sudden Steph's out. He gets an opportunity to play more the way that he can be successful, and suddenly there's a little bit of life, which I think is probably the best headline as it relates to Jonathan Kuminga moving forward here from game 2 to game 3. All right, that's going to do it. Great stuff tonight in the chat. I know people get down when this team loses, but and it again, without Steph, all bets are off as it relates to this series. But I appreciate everybody for jumping in and enjoying the conversation. We had a lot of really good calls tonight at 808 KNBR. The Golden State Lumber and Showroom text line was lit, and as always, the best chat in sports. So good stuff. Kyle, we'll reconvene on Saturday. You're in Saturday, right? You're not taking.
I'll be here.
You're in Saturday. We are. I'm trying to think. We are. What's the? We may start on YouTube Saturday. Just we may start on YouTube and then flip over after the Giants on the radio as well, because the Giants are going to be playing. It's an early afternoon game there, and then Monday. We'll have Dubs OT as well. I believe that's going to be YouTube only, but Greg Silver's going to be on hand for that one. So we look ahead to game 3 and game 4. So for Kyle and overnight Dave, and who do we need to thank tonight?
It was a small crew today. Just Jacob.
All right, Jacob Violante. We'll talk to you Saturday at Harmonic after game 3. Warriors lose 117-93. It's KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
Jackson Davis, and now Moody. Late clock here, down to 2. Moody's got to put up a 3, does so, and it's an air ball. McDaniels might got a piece of that, and McDaniels runs the floor and hammers it down. What a player. McDaniels having a night.
John Dickinson.
No, God! No, God, please, no!
Big audio quality show.
You are a sicko, and I appreciate you for it because I'm a sicko.
I just know they kicked our ass tonight.
No class, no balls.
Everything's gonna be alright.